This is a WWN Publishing Group recording. Copyright 2017, all rights reserved. This is an abridged version of Night Takes Pawn, Book 1 of the Red Knight series by Martha Sweeney, to make the story appropriate for all listeners on YouTube. Read to you by the author. If you want to read the complete story, you can find the ebook or paperback online. Links are provided below in the description. Chapter 19, Red. A strange feeling has come over me. I've suddenly realized that there seems to be no use in running. I don't have any money or anything I could barter with. I don't know anyone here in the city other than Jagger and his goons, and I wouldn't know where to go. I'm not dressed, nor will I ever really be dressed from what I'm guessing, in something that would make running possible and comfortable. I might not have the most ideal of situations, but at least I'm not a whore. Jagger sees something in me. I'm not sure what it is exactly, but maybe I can use it to my benefit. I'm better off living this life that I've got than the life I would have had with my mother and possibly with Jagger initially intended. And I'm good at killing. Does this mean they've broken me? Shit, maybe they have. Ryan and I are at the nightclub for the third time this week with Jagger, Lynn, Breaker, and the rest of Jagger's inner circle. Jagger hasn't had me kill since we've been back, and I'm actually relieved. There have been a few times that I've joined Lynn and the girls in her sanctuary while the men discuss business. I still don't understand why Jagger talks about some things around me. I wonder if he's worried that there might be people trying to take him down. I shouldn't be surprised by the possibility, since those who are coherent enough to understand what's really going on aren't happy. I can see how someone in my position would stop questioning or caring about what's going on after a while, when we've got good food and clothes compared to the majority of the population. All of the sex and heavy petting that is going on is starting to bother me. I'm horny on a regular basis, and my body wishes Ryan would come on to me besides what he does when we're in public. I'm tempted to possibly interact with girls, but I'm not sure how to start and how it would be interpreted. Pretty much all of them have serviced or been serviced by each other, even Lynn. Some point later in the night, there's a knock on the door and we're notified that we can return to our men. I really wish there were more things to do than just sit around and wait for them to tell us what to do. "Hey," Ryan hums in my ear after I take my usual seat on his lap. I offer a half smile and nod. We've both been good these past few weeks, especially me, concerning keeping my ability to speak a secret. I do say a few things to him when we're in the room, but I try to keep it to a minimum so it doesn't become a habit. The last thing I need is Jagger or anyone else finding out that I can talk. My gaze returns to the windows that overlook the main floor of the club. I enjoy people watching from up here. I always try to figure out why they're here, what they want, and what they might be thinking. The place is rather large, and I can see most of the lower section that has a main centralized bar with 2 cages on either end and one in the middle, several side bars that are along the walls, a dance floor, and gambling tables. I've noticed that many of the sex trade transactions happen on the first floor, and the basement sections are for higher-paying clients. Liquor is always flowing, and I wouldn't be surprised if this place runs every minute of every day without stopping. "Red," Ryan calls, snapping me from my observations of a group of men who don't quite look like they fit in. "Red." I turn and face him. "I need to check on something," he states. I nod and stand. "I won't be long," he informs. "Just stay here." I offer a half smile, and Ryan's gone 2 seconds later. I watch out the window, staring at the bottom of the steps for him, hoping to see where he goes and what he might do. Sometimes I've overheard Jagger asking Ryan to take care of situations down on the main floor that I was able to spot. Tonight, I was in a daze, so I'm not sure what he's doing. Ryan doesn't move from the bottom of the last step until some guys signal for him. He's quick to follow the man, I forget his name, and then they disappear in the crowd. At least 10 minutes go by, and I'm pretty sure that there's a challenging client. I take a sip of my wine and keep the glass at my lips a few extra seconds when I see Ryan suddenly talking to a woman I don't recognize. She's wearing a lot of makeup, and I can only see half of her face due to the way her hair is styled. I'm not sure what tugs at my gut, but when I see Ryan's face, I know that something isn't right. He takes her by her upper arm and ushers her off the floor and to one of the side halls that leads to the basement. "Hey, Red," an unwanted person calls. I don't bother to turn and look at him. "Red," Breaker calls again, this time closer. I turn my head slightly over my left shoulder, but refuse to look at him. "Why don't you come join us?" he offers. I face him and look back at the men and women who have already started the makings of an orgy on the couch. My eyes catch Breaker's and then return back to the floor in search of Ryan. "Come on," Breaker coaxes, dragging a few of his fingers down the back of my arm. I don't move despite the fact that I can't stand that he's touching me. "You need to loosen up, Red," Breaker states. I don't reply. A sickening feeling rises in my stomach at the smell of him and the feeling of him standing so close. "Knight doesn't have what it takes to satisfy a woman like you," Breaker claims. I glance back at him and snicker at the ridiculous notion. "Don't mock me," Breaker says with a hint of anger in his voice. "Red," Lynn calls suddenly. I turn to find her standing close by. "Will you please help me?" she requests. I smile and nod, moving away from Breaker as fast as I can. Once we're outside of the room, I smile and nod again to show my appreciation. Lynn leads me down the hall to our sanctuary. When we get inside, I notice that there are only about 8 different girls. Once the door is closed, I wait for Lynn's instructions. "Sit," she offers, gesturing to the couch. I lift a brow in question. "I figured you could use an escape from Breaker," she admits. I smile, grateful for the rescue. "How are things with Knight?" she pries gently. My head bobs a little in reply. "Good," Lynn returns. She reaches and grabs a few grapes from a plate. "Well, if you ever need certain kinds of assistance, don't hesitate to let any of us girls know." My brows furrow. "As much as the men demand from us," Lynn explains, popping a grape into her mouth. "They don't always make sure that we are satisfied as well." Lynn tilts her head to the left, directing my attention to 2 of the girls, one of which is receiving oral sex from the other. My eyes lift to Lynn. "I may be wrong, but it appears to me as if you aren't fully satisfied by Knight," Lynn suggests. "He may think you are, but from the look in your eyes, you're not." I feel heat rising to my cheeks. "It's okay," Lynn says sweetly. "You didn't hear this from me." She leans into my ear. "Jagger is not always as satisfying. That's why I usually have a girl or 2 join us." My eyebrows start up in shock. "He's an older man," Lynn states. "Not all of them can have good stamina." I smile my understanding. "You've just seemed to be more tense lately," Lynn mentions. "I wanted you to know you can always ask your sisters for relief in that area, if needed." My interest is piqued. I've never been with a woman, nor have I fantasized about it. Do I become aroused when I see sex happening, even when it's women on women? Yes. I'm not sure what to do or how to go about it. "Cherie," Lynn calls. A woman walks toward us. "Have you officially met Red?" Lynn asks her. "No," Cherie replies. She looks at me and extends her hand. "Nice to finally and officially meet you." I take her hand in mine and notice the strength of her grip, yet the softness of her skin. "You're the quiet one, aren't you?" Cherie comments. Lynn smiles and gets up, leaving the 2 of us alone. I look back to Cherie and nod. "How does Knight treat you?" she asks sweetly. I smile. "He's only been with 1 or 2 of the girls once," he states. My brows lift in reply, shocked to hear her admittance. I would have guessed that Ryan has been with many of the slaves before we met, and a few after since we haven't been intimate. "Looks to me like there's some tension you need released," Cherie offers, caressing her fingers along my knee and up my thigh. I watch her hand slowly drift higher as she sits closer to me. When our eyes meet, she offers, "Let me help with that." This is the end of this chapter. Thank you for listening. I hope you're enjoying the story so far. To read the full, unabridged version, you can find a link in the description below. To find out about new releases before the general public, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter. Also, to be notified when the next chapter is published, make sure you subscribe to my channel.